Talk about Pavlovian. What is Pavlovian conditioning? It's just basic animal psychology. It's very effective on humans as well, where you ding a bell for a few weeks, a couple times a day before you feed dogs, and then you can start ringing the bell, and the dogs will begin to salivate without even the smell of meat. And that's what the system has basically done. And a good example of Pavlovian conditioning is having the police come in drills and teach the kids to put their hands up and to go get on the school buses as if they're terrorists, or to have you go through the TSA and be groped and ask questions. You are Pavlovianly being conditioned to be integrated into a prison state, into a system of oppression. That's a Pavlovian example. The crew gave me, for my birthday, this coffee cup that is basically, looks like a handgun going into a coffee cup. And I noticed this morning I got some coffee in it because it was one of the clean coffee cups. And every time I raised it to take a drink, for the first time in my life, taking a drink of coffee was very unnerving and very unpleasing. And that's because, A, I would never take a handgun unless I was going to pull the trigger, get my finger anywhere near the trigger. But I would take a coffee cup and put my hand around the handle, and the handle is a trigger. So very unnerving. In fact, physically makes me sick to drink this. And I'm glad you guys bought it for me because it's a nice gift and I like it as a way to illustrate Pavlovian conditioning. But I'm not claiming I'm some gun master or gun safety king. But growing up shooting so much since age 4, been shooting .410 shotguns since I was age 4. And then, shooting high caliber rifles by the time I was 6. And being able to shoot bullseye at 300, 400 yards by the time I was about 9. In fact, I'm not as good a shot now as I was when I was like 9 years old. The senses are just so crisp and so on. And I loved shooting so much when I was younger. It was just so magic. I still like it, but nothing like when I was a kid. And I just have such gun safety and gun awareness, sight awareness of don't aim a gun in anybody's direction. Don't put your finger on the trigger till you're ready to pull the trigger. Certainly don't get a gun up in front of your face. And I took a photo of Mike Judge pointing his M4, but I stuck the cell phone out to get a shot like down the barrel and clicked it that way. And of course the gun he just shot 30 rounds and it was empty, and we checked it before we did it too. But the point was, even doing that, it was only for cinematic purposes. And I probably should have had a remote control on it or something just to be technical. Don't get in front of the barrel of a gun. But I'm telling you, it is bizarre to put this gun up to my mouth. Probably name that the video on prisonplanet.tv. A gun to the mouth. And by the way, all this tyranny, people are deep down scared of what's going on. They have a feeling of unsettling concern. They know the system's corrupt. They know it's predatory. But that's subconscious. The subconscious mind is much more powerful. The conscious mind just knows that there is anxiety. The government says, yes, that anxiety is Al-Qaeda. Even though you have a better chance of dying from a deer jumping out in front of your car, being stung by a wasp or honeybee separately. Wasp kill more people every year than terrorism in the U.S. Honeybees kill more per capita. This is each group. Yellow jackets kill more people each year by themselves than terrorism. But our entire way of life is being changed by the political class completely transparently to dominate and control in the name of it. Total social conditioning. And now they admit Homeland Security is for the American people, and their new enemy is gun-owning, returning veterans, libertarians, conservatives, who they have the military openly training for war with. And that should be a huge wake-up call to everyone out there. When Bush was doing some light persecution of Democrats, banning free speech, putting it in free speech zones of the RNC and things, I went and decried it. I went and almost got arrested. I had members of my crew arrested They arrested some of my guys when I was in a separate area than them. And I knew we'd get arrested. I figured. So that's why I say, I basically got us arrested going down there. Rob Dew got arrested. I've been arrested before. Actually, I forgot I was arrested that time in New York. But I wasn't arrested as part of the RNC deal. That was days before. See, I forget. It all blurs together. I've been arrested quite a few times demonstrating. I was protesting media propaganda when I got arrested in New York when Geraldo Rivera was doing an outdoor deal. And notice Geraldo Rivera doesn't dislike me now. He says he admires me on and off air before when I've been on his show. He's been on this one, all because I did go bullhorn him. All because I did go get arrested. And you're like, wouldn't he hate me? He was flipping me off at the time. And well, that's because people were saying they were going to kick his ass. It wasn't me saying that. So like any red-blooded guy, he said, oh, really? I'll climb out of this thing after the thing if you think you're going to do that. And I looked up Geraldo Rivera. He does have a history of being a scrapper in New York. Arrested for that and other things as a political activist. But the whole point is that's the animating contest of liberty. That's what life is all about. And, I've digressed off into Bush and how I protested him some and got arrested for violating free speech. And then Obama does it. And I have articles, mainstream articles, where Democrats go, hey, forget, going after the IRS for targeting the Tea Party and pro-life and Christians. We want you to go after them more. Get rid of them. They should be illegal. Just like the governor of New York said, if you're a pro-lifer or a gun owner, get out of the state. Quote, you're not welcome here. You're not what New York is. We define. How is that liberal? Liberalism is about real tolerance. Liberalism is about live and let live. Liberalism is about giving you as much of your money and the right to live your life as you see fit. I'm for drug decriminalization. I'm for national sovereignty. I'm for low taxes. I'm for having a small government. I'm for having local control. I'm for having labeling on products so you know what you're eating. Is that liberal or conservative? No, that's liberal. But not in the liberal context of the modern liberal. These are nothing but moral, high ground people in a confidence game that are corporate con artist technicians whose opposition is a bunch of corrupt blue blood country club idiot Republicans who are owned by the same special interests that are busy destroying our entire future and our civilization, all so they can be king of the hill. King of a pile of horse manure. I'd rather be a third of the way down the hill or at the bottom of the hill in a wondrous free market quasi-utopia of adventurism and trailblazing and celebrating femininity, celebrating masculinity, but celebrating all forms of art and culture, the entire spectrum of it. That's real liberalism, is celebrating humanity. Not saying it's all screwed up, the government has to tell it what to do, and then the government people are the worst of the worst of the worst, kleptocratic, narcissistic, power-tripping scum. I mentioned this article, government lays groundwork to confiscate your 401k and IRA. Quote, this is happening. That's in a Reuters article that's up on Infowars.com. Pretty big deal. Pretty big deal to have quotes like that right out of Reuters. And we've just got so much more. I've got to get to all this. But first off, I thought I'd just play you more ridiculous lies from Obama, the king of lies. Really, he makes Bill Clinton look truthful. You'd almost could call Obama the father of lies, but we know he's only the son of lies. Think about Pelosi coming out and saying, "I don't get married." Oh, no. Just like attacking everything. And I was in the coffee room during the break getting some coffee. And Biden was on C-SPAN. And he was saying, look, it doesn't matter our education scores are dropping. Our children question the status quo. And we're going to bring down the old system to build the new. And everybody in the audience of Democrats knew what he was talking about. He says, you've got to bring down the old system to build a new one. I mean, literal Cloward and Piven quote. That's why I told him, hey, we got a DVR on there. Back that up. Record C-SPAN to the C-SPAN TV. There's a couple of them in there. But I want that clip. Super creepy. Like, that's newsworthy, by the way. If you take the clip about, our test scores, people want to criticize those. Well, at least our kids question the status quo, and people think the holy grail is culture and what's been in the past. Well, I'm not saying we should not innovate, but this is an innovation. This is going back to enslavement, and they know it. Don't be married, don't have kids, live in a tiny apartment so you can pay us more tax money. Don't have a car, don't have air conditioning if you live in Africa. Lower your expectations because we want everything for ourselves to politically control you. I mean, that's their stated goal, and they're selling it like it's sexy on a high ground, talking about how courageous they are to do this. I mean, I was in there for like 3 minutes during the break with my mouth hanging open, just looking at Biden. But I'm now digressing. Here's candidate Obama. This is an article up on Infowars.com right now. I will reverse biggest problem of executive abuse of power. He said no signing statements, 5 days to read the bills, no lobbyist. He just, executive power grab 5 times Bush. I mean, it's amazing. Everything he said he'd do, he did the opposite. But people who are still Democrats are bought into it. And it's like, he's their guy, so you're trying to put down their guy. Let's go to that clip of El Presidente.
I taught constitutional law for 10 years. I take the Constitution very seriously. The biggest problems that we're facing right now have to do with George Bush trying to bring more and more power into the executive branch and not go through Congress at all. And that's what I intend to reverse when I'm president of the United States of America.
Well, there you go. Now, who would you want to kill somebody with a knife if you had to hire somebody to do it? You'd hire a thoracic surgeon, maybe. And that's basically what they've done with Obama. He's a constitutional lawyer, so he knows how to slit the throat of the carotid arteries and the jugulars better than anybody. And he does know exactly what he's doing. And now has put his whole agenda into hyper warp drive. My friend.